Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Leora Brosby. I am the Family Engagement Officer at the Jewish Federation of the East Bay. And my job is to support families in the East Bay, that's Alameda, Contra Costa, Napa, and Solano counties. And as part of the Jewish Federation of the East Bay, my goal is to connect Jewish families to each other and to Jewish life. So while I specifically work in the Jewish community, my background is much more diverse and working with all kinds of families and supporting parents and their kiddos. So today I'm going to be talking about kind of three components that I feel are really helpful to raising children and to cultivating community and working together as parents in supporting each other and one another. So essentially, they're the three components that I like to talk about in terms of developing parent strategies that really help you and your kid is about taking a break. I know you wouldn't think that's like the first thing you want to do as a parent, but like sometimes the first thing as a parent is when to step away and when to move forward. So taking a break, gratitude, and giving back. And those three aspects are really components, strong components to what I feel can be tools in your toolbox. So hi Ksenia, I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you again. Thank you to Millennial Mommy for inviting me. So I know many of you will be watching this later, so I won't try and repeat myself too much. But again, so the Jewish idea of a break is actually literally the Sabbath or Shabbat, and it happens once a week. And traditionally from sundown on Friday until nightfall on Saturday night. And it's a day that is, many people think of as a time to cease from work, but actually I think of it as a time to cease from creation. And that actually is a little bit easier because anybody who's parenting knows that they're working pretty hard. And I feel like Shabbat is no exception. If you're parenting on Shabbat, you're working probably just as hard as anybody else. So what the idea of creating is one that I think is easier for people to follow. So when can you take a break from creating? As parents, we're always doing. We're making to-do lists, we're making lunches, we're making activities, we're driving places, we're facilitating engaging opportunities. And while a Sabbath may not give you a chance to take a break completely from that, isn't there a chance where you can just say, today we're only going to do things in our neighborhood? Or I'm not going to spend more than 15 minutes in the kitchen. Today we are having leftovers day, or we're going to eat sandwiches. So what are things that you can do to really give yourself a break? And I'm going to come back to technology break because this is really, really essential to, I think, health in general, both the parents' health and the children's health. So the second is gratitude and being very articulate about what you are grateful for, as well as instilling a sense of gratitude in your children. And ultimately, the last one is giving back. And giving back is often thought in a Jewish context as tzedakah and charity. And I really want us to think about how we can do that just as community members in the broader world. So I'm going to be sharing a link with you with lots of resources. One particular is Mindful Littles, which is a local East Bay organization that helps families do service-oriented projects. And I'm gonna share that information with you as well. And if you have any questions, please type them into the comments. One of the things that I love about Facebook Live is that it is interactive. It's different than just doing a video at my own speed and at my own time, possibly in my pajamas. Not in my pajamas right now. I am fully here with you. So So if you have any questions or if you have any questions about what I'm sharing, please go ahead and put them in the comments. So what is Sprouty Spay? You're wondering who this person is. Again, my name is Leora, and I work for Sprouty Spay. And Sprouty Spay is a program in the Federation of the East Bay organization, and we work to support families together. So part of our work in supporting families is helping them be their best selves. And we do that through a couple of different ways. One is we provide families with free Jewish books. So PJ Library and PJ Our Way. PJ Library is for readers ages 6 months through 9 years. And PJ Our Way, OUR, is for readers 8.5 through 12. And these books are absolutely free, and they're available to all Jewish families. And that can be an interesting question itself, is what is a Jewish family? And my invitation to you is, if you're not sure, then you can ask me. But if you identify as a Jewish family, then you pretty much know who you are. If you had a Jewish parent, if you have Jewish heritage, if you want to connect more to Jewish thoughts and ideas, and you yourself identify as someone in the Jewish community, then these books are really perfect for you. And if you don't, then please come to our website. We are on Facebook at PJ Library East Bay and also PJ Library. And you can come to pjlibrary.org and see so many great resources, from activities to recipes and book ideas. And coming up on Monday, I'm just going to give a little plug, is not just Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but it is actually Tu B'Shvat, which is the 15th of the Hebrew month of Shvat, which is the day in the Jewish calendar when we honor trees. It's called the New Year's of the Trees, or the Birthday of the Trees. It's really a fabulous thing. It's nice to have a tradition and a culture in which environmentalism is really embedded. So on Monday, we can give a hug to all the trees out there. And if you want to put in a comment, what's your favorite tree and why? I'm happy to hear a little bit more about that. So to come back to kind of the three components, Shabbat, or break from doing, blessing or gratitude, and tzedakah, or giving back. So one of my favorite phrases that I've heard throughout my life in cultivating awareness and mindfulness is that we're human beings, not human doings. And I myself spend a lot of time doing. I'm always, well, this morning I was doing lunches, and I was getting laundry out of the dryer so they would have the right clothes to wear. I'm a parent of 3 kids myself. I'm doing all the time. I feel like I'm almost never not doing. Even when I'm sleeping, I feel like I'm doing. I'm dreaming. I'm cultivating brain power, hopefully. And it's really, really a lot of doing. So when can we rest? And when I mean rest, I mean really rest. And this is not a shaming thing of like going on your phone. I recently downloaded a new app that is just totally, it's so nice. It's so fun. It's like a word game, and I love wasting time on it. And it just kind of gives me a chance to just like check out. And each puzzle takes like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's a really great time to just really check out. And at the same time, are there things that we can do that really allows us to deepen our attention to ourselves and to our kids? And I know that when I'm on my phone or when I'm watching a video, I am less available to my kids. So when you're thinking about Shabbat, when you're thinking about a rest, a break, you can think about, a technology break as well. And there are these great resources at Reboot, and you can get a sleeping bag for your cell phone or for your device. And that can be fun too, because for kids, it can be very literal. It's like time to say night-night to this phone, and they're watching you. So if you're saying night-night to the phone, but then you're on your phone, then you're sending really a mixed message. I find that technology is one of the biggest sources of conflict in our house. And I was a little bit surprised in an article in Real Simple magazine recently that they were connecting how minimalist parenting and screen time there is this correlation to kids who want more things and feel like a sense of never having enough. I don't know, maybe somebody resonates with that. Give me a little bit of a like or a thumbs up. My kids, it just feels like sometimes it's never enough. And how do we cultivate a sense of gratitude also for what you have, but also satisfaction and not always wanting? And this article said there's actually a correlation between wanting more things and being more dissatisfied with what you have and screen time. And I've noticed that too, because even if they see an ad for an app, another app, they're like, oh, I want this app, I want something more, or the commercials. And it's fabulous when there is a resource like YouTube Kids and there's not commercial, but still I feel like it's so subtle and it's in every sort of way. So even if you're watching something like from PBS Kids, I feel like when you go out into the world and the things are branded, the kids are they're being inundated in a whole different way. So that Real Simple magazine, that link to the article on minimalist parenting, raising minimalist children, is at our website, jfed.org/mensch. Mensch is a Yiddish word for a human or a man. And it's also used to describe a good person. So all of us here who are trying to learn from each other are really trying to raise a good mensch. jfed.org/parenting resources is another way you can find it. So I'm going to move on to also the suggestion that making the Sabbath not only a break from what you normally do, but making something different. So in our household, dessert is a big part of making things different and special. Instead of having dessert every night, we have it just on the Sabbath or on Friday evening or Saturday morning. I love to get flowers, but it's also something special that my kids and I go and pick out flowers at Trader Joe's or wherever on Friday afternoon and put them in water and make something beautiful. Sometimes we call something called a mental health Shabbat. So if you don't eat out regularly, maybe one day it's different and you get to go order pizza or you eat cereal for dinner. In my opinion, cereal is a very legitimate meal. So with blessings, how can you model gratitude and other forms of expression of gratitude in your family? So one is writing thank you notes after you receive a gift, or if that feels like just too much, you can just snap a picture of the kid enjoying the toy and text or message the relative who gave it to them or the friend with a note that says, look how much they're enjoying it. Or if your little one is wearing some clothes that they got as a hand-me-down, take a picture and say, look who's big enough to wear, so-and-so's overalls. Blessings are one way to connect to your spiritual and religious practice. And there are many, many recommendations of what that could look like. But one in the Jewish tradition is blessing of the children. And that, again, is tied to the Sabbath. Traditionally, it's done on the Friday evening. Parents bless the children. So why would that be such an important practice in cultivating gratitude? Is you're taking a moment to stop and intentionally focus on your child and saying, I'm so glad that you're you. And that can look like the traditional liturgy that is the blessing of the children that comes from the rabbinic texts. Or you can say something like, I'm so glad that you are you, and when you had the play date on Wednesday, you did such an amazing job sharing your toys. I'm really proud of you. And not all parents are comfortable with praise. But remember, just acknowledging their uniqueness is a really way for a child to feel seen and appreciated. Also, acknowledging firsts and milestones. So there's actually a Jewish prayer for the first time, and that's also a Tu B'Shvat moment because we celebrate some of the first fruits. Or if you haven't had a fruit in a long time, like you haven't had a carob chip in a long time, you can say a blessing for that, or a kumquat. And it can be really fun when you just really acknowledge our child's first. And we do that really well in the beginning. Their first step and their first everything and their first giggle and their first sleeping through the night. But remember to continue to do that throughout their childhood. and acknowledge the appreciation. You cleared your plate without me asking. I ask every single day, so it's not a surprise that you wouldn't know what to do after we finish the meal. Don't include that. That's just the inner narrative of maybe of a grumpy parent. And to say, thank you. You did that without asking, or you brushed your teeth so thoroughly, I can see that you didn't leave a speck of food on your teeth. Another random example. So I want to take a quick break from these 3 strategies. We still have tzedakah or giving back left. And I wanted to talk about an idea that I do to kind of cultivate gratitude, but also to be real and present. And that's a game that many people know. It's called Fortunately, Unfortunately. And it's a game that I sometimes play with myself, and was even on my way to work today and was playing it with myself because I found myself getting really irritated and just kind of grumpy. So I'll just share the story briefly with you, and you'll get the hang of it. And if you would like to put in the comments any fortunately, unfortunately narrative from your day currently right now. So fortunately, I didn't need to drive to work today. Unfortunately, that meant that I was going to take the BART train and park at the BART in the pouring rain. Unfortunately, no, that was unfortunately, I had to take the BART. Fortunately, there's a BART station right near my office, so I didn't have to walk very far. Unfortunately, my Clipper card has been inactive because I don't think I've updated my credit card information. So unfortunately, I couldn't get into the BART station. Fortunately, they have a ticket counter right there, a kiosk, so I went to buy a paper ticket. Unfortunately, my payment was denied again. You're getting a theme here. Fortunately, I had cash and I bought a ticket. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, I had to wait for the next BART train. Fortunately, I caught the BART train. Unfortunately, when I was on the BART train, I realized I didn't pay for my parking at the BART station. Fortunately, I remembered before the end of the day, so I didn't get a ticket. Unfortunately, I went back to the first BART station where I parked my car and paid the parking. So you're getting the sense. So, it's basically talking about, this is a reality. Like, it was pouring rain. That was an inconvenience. And fortunately, there was an alternative way to get to work. And also, fortunately, the rain is good for the earth. So sometimes when it comes to parenting, I think about just like, fortunately, I have a beautiful child. Unfortunately, my beautiful child feels like it's necessary to come into my bed every night and sleep with me. Fortunately, my child rarely wakes me up when they join me in bed, and they feel very safe and comforted by sleeping with me. Unfortunately, I do get kicked multiple times during the night. So you're getting a sense of one of the fortunes, unfortunately. Also, you can play this game with your older kids, even 4 or 5-year-olds. You can say something like, fortunately, we're going to the park, and then they can come up with unfortunately or unfortunately. Unfortunately, we have to drive there because it's too far to ride our bikes. These are fun activities that you can do with your kids in the car, at dinner time, bath time, even bedtime. You can even do a bedtime ritual like the good news from the day, the rose or the thorn, something similar that you may have learned at camp. So I'm happy to take any more questions. If anybody has any comments they want to leave, share their own fortunately, unfortunately of the morning or what seems up to them. And I'm going to end with the third component. We talked about taking a break from doing and just focusing on being, like Shabbat. We talked about being grateful and cultivating blessings and acknowledgement of special moments. And then finally is tzedakah, or giving back, and how your actions can reflect your values. So I'm going to take a minute and ask you to just think for a moment about the values that you are cultivating in your family. Maybe it's taking care of your body by eating healthy food. Maybe it is valuing community and friendships by hosting people and coming over. Maybe it's respecting your elders by staying connected with the older people in your life. So whatever your values, take a minute to get in touch with that and see how your actions as a family can reflect that. One of the things I do love about PJ Library, again, this is free Jewish books for families, and wherever you probably are eligible to get PJ Library if you identify as a Jewish family. It's PJ Library, library.org. And the PJ stands for pajamas because, as parents know, a lot of stories get read in the pajamas. And so we want these Jewish books to be a part of your bedtime rituals. And a lot of them have to do about values, about taking care of animals, about being a part of a community, feeding those who are hungry, and giving food and shelter and clothing to those who have less than us. So many of us are so lucky to have so many resources. And it's important that while we're able to celebrate our children, for example, with a big birthday party, you might think about ways to give back at a birthday party. Maybe instead of getting plastic junk or candy to give in party favors, you give something tangible, because kids like that, like stickers, and maybe a little note that said, instead of party favors, we gave the money to an organization that resonated for your kids. If your kid's super into firefighters, like my 4-year-old is, then you could give to the CAL FIRE organization or to firefighters support networks. These are ways that you can kind of tie into what's important to them. You can make a thank you note for the firefighters in your community. You can host play dates and read books and get to know people in the family, in the community that are different from you, and talk about why you admire different people. Almost every time there's a teaching moment. So if you miss your family member who's far away and you're FaceTiming or you're video connecting, maybe afterwards say, I really miss Grandma. I really admire her because she seems to really know how to take care of her family. And I hope when I get to be a grandma, I can take care of you in the same way. So these are some ideas of ways to cultivate gratitude in your own family. And I am always eager to hear people's experiences. You can join our group. It's Sprout East Bay. And there's lots of resources for families, get-togethers, resources, programs, play dates, and they're all open to the entire community, whether you're Jewish or not. We welcome everybody. And we're having an interfaith play date. If you're in the Bay Area, next Sunday, the 27th, a local mom was very inspired by an interfaith vigil after the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh in October. And at this vigil, many interfaith clergy came together to have a vigil. And she thought, well, where are the families? Where are the families with young children? So we're having a play date in Walnut Creek, California, if you're near there. And you can find out more about that on Facebook. You can find out at Sprout East Bay, or you can message me here, post a comment. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts about cultivating gratitude, about taking a break from doing to being, and how to make your values part of your daily life in action. My name is Lior Brosby. I'm so glad to have talked with you today, and I look forward to connecting with you. So feel free to be in touch and have a wonderful, wonderful day.